Hey there, and welcome to Juicy Celeb Talks. Rick James, the untold saga. Buckle up, because we're about to delve into the wild and tumultuous life of Rick James. Born as James Ambrose Johnson Jr. in Buffalo, New York, on February 1, 1948, Rick James' journey from a troubled childhood to musical stardom is nothing short of extraordinary. His early life was marked by hardship and strife. He grew up in a large family with 7 siblings, and his father abandoned them when James was only 10 years old, leaving his mother to struggle to make ends meet. She worked as a dancer with Katherine Dunham and took on various odd jobs to put food on the table. James was a rebellious teenager. In 1964, at the age of 16, he fled to Toronto to escape a tumultuous home life. However, trouble seemed to follow him. One night, after a group of drunken men attacked him outside a club, he was rescued by Levon Helm of the band, who invited James to perform with his group. That night marked the beginning of his musical journey. To avoid military service, James adopted the alias Ricky James Matthews. That same year, he formed the Mynah Birds, a band that blended soul, folk, and rock, creating a unique sound that caught the attention of Columbia Records in Canada. Despite their initial success, the band was plagued by instability. Members came and went, including Neil Young, who joined after a fallout within the group. They eventually traveled to Detroit to record with Motown, where James met his idols, Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder. Wonder suggested shortening his stage name to Rick James, and thus, the legend was born. But James' troubles were far from over. In 1966, he found himself entangled in a legal mess with the U.S. Navy and Motown after it was discovered he was AWOL from the Navy. To avoid further complications, Motown persuaded him to surrender to the FBI. At 19, James faced 5 years of hard labor but managed to escape from the naval prison after only 6 weeks. He was on the run for 6 months before surrendering again. With the help of his mother and his cousin, who later became a congressman, James' sentence was reduced to 5 months. After his release in 1967, James returned to Toronto, only to find himself in trouble once more, which delayed his musical ambitions. Fast forward to 1968, and James was back with Motown, this time under the name Ricky Matthews. He began writing songs for major acts like the Miracles and the Spinners. During this period, he met Greg Reeves, a bassist tired of earning peanuts. Together, they headed to Los Angeles, where James stayed with Stephen Stills and encountered Jim Morrison, who tricked him into taking LSD. In California, James and Reeves attempted to make it big as a duo, but Reeves eventually joined Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, leaving James behind. In 1969, James narrowly escaped being present at Sharon Tate's party, which became infamous due to the Manson family murders, because of a hangover. The 1970s saw James recording with various groups and writing songs that gained recognition, including one picked up by the Chambers Brothers. He continued to live a wild, rock and roll lifestyle, marked by heavy substance abuse that began in his teens. Although he claimed to have quit drugs when he went to prison, his autopsy revealed traces of drugs in his system at the time of his death. His drug use led to significant health issues, including a stroke in 1998 and a hip replacement due to bone damage from his energetic performances. James' substance abuse was widely known by the 1990s. He confessed to spending about $7,000 a week on drugs for 5 straight years. His public downfall began on August 2, 1991, when he and his girlfriend, Tanya Hijazi, were arrested for holding a 24-year-old woman, Frances Alley, captive for 6 days, forcing her to perform sexual acts, and burning her with the hot end of a crack cocaine pipe. James' musical career saw a resurgence in the late 1990s. After his release from prison, he signed with Warner Brothers Records and released the album Urban Rhapsody in 1997. He promoted the album and his life story on VH1's Behind the Music. However, a stroke in 1998 during a concert in Denver forced him to slow down. Despite his health issues, he continued to make music and even collaborated with Ike Turner on the South Park soundtrack. James' career received a significant boost from an unexpected source, comedian Dave Chappelle. In 2004, James appeared on Chappelle's show in a skit that became an instant classic. Chappelle's portrayal of James and the catchphrase "I'm Rick James, B." revitalized interest in his music and legacy. James performed at the BET Awards in June 2004, his final public appearance. Rick James' personal life was as chaotic as his professional one. He had 2 children, Tressa and Rick Jr., with Sybil Morgan, a singer and songwriter. He had a tumultuous relationship with actress Linda Blair in the early 1980s, which ended after she chose to have an abortion without his knowledge. This heartbreak inspired James to write the song Cold-Blooded. Later, he met Tanya Hijazi at a party when she was 17. They had a son, Tasman, in 1993 and married in 1996, but their marriage ended in 2002. James had a special bond with singer Tina Marie, whom he mentored and collaborated with. They were briefly engaged and remained close friends. Marie was devastated by James' death and struggled with addiction afterward. James' life came to a tragic end on August 6, 2004, when he was found dead in his Los Angeles home. He was 56 years old. The cause of death was heart failure, complicated by diabetes, a stroke, a pacemaker, and a heart attack. An autopsy revealed multiple drugs in his system, but none were deemed sufficient to cause his death alone. In the wake of his death, fans had the opportunity to say their goodbyes at a public viewing, followed by a private funeral in Buffalo, New York. James was interred at Forest Lawn Cemetery. Rick James' life was a roller coaster of highs and lows, marked by extraordinary musical talent, personal demons, and a legacy that continues to influence artists today. Despite his many challenges, he left an indelible mark on the music industry and remains a cultural icon.
Facing a maximum life sentence if convicted on all charges, including assault with a deadly weapon, aggravated mayhem, and false imprisonment, James pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. While out on bail for this incident, James and Hijazi attacked music executive Mary Sauger at the St. James Club and Hotel in West Hollywood. Found guilty of both offenses but acquitted of torture, which could have meant a life sentence, James served over 2 years of his 5-year sentence at Folsom Prison. He lost a civil suit to Sauger, who was awarded nearly $2 million in damages. James was released from prison on August 21, 1996. In 1998, he faced accusations of sexual assault from a 26-year-old woman, but the charges were later dropped. In 2020, his estate was sued for $50 million by a woman who accused him of raping her in 1979, when she was 15. The suit was eventually dismissed. Rick James famously quipped, "Cocaine is a hell of a drug," a statement that encapsulated his tumultuous life. His relationship with drugs led to several infamous incidents. In 1980, comedian Richard Pryor set himself on fire while freebasing cocaine, an incident mirrored by James a decade later when he accidentally set himself on fire during a drug binge after an MC Hammer concert. Despite their rocky relationship, James and Hammer shared a stage after Hammer sampled James' hit song Super Freak for his track You Can't Touch This. James sued Hammer for proper credit and compensation and eventually won a Grammy for Best R&B Song in 1991.